Hello everyone, I'm V Srinivasa Rao, also known as VSR. So I'm the Chairman and Managing Director for BT&BT, a digital solutions company. I'm also consulting editor for Techplus Media. So today we are going to have very interesting discussion. The reason why I said interesting is, in the last, I think, 7 to 8 years, we have been talking about fourth industrial revolution, industry 4.0, people to people, people to things, things to things, digital workforce, too much of connectivism and all. Then suddenly 2 years back, there is something else came called COVID-19, a new pandemic. Then everybody started, I think, having virtual operations. I think sitting at home or sitting at home only most of the times because of the COVID. Slowly nowadays, I think they're also going out. And that is second important disruption in addition to Industry 4.0. And the third most important thing is that today organizations have been struggling to have all the capabilities within the organization. The technology innovations are happening at so rapid pace, organizations are not able to build those capabilities. That means they have to depend on external specialists, somebody probably there in Germany or Russia or India or Japan, it doesn't matter. That's called gig economy. A lot of, I think, open innovations and open solutions are happening. So with all these things, so what is most important challenge organizations, even governments are facing today is, this is getting connected now, going outside the firewalls and all. What sort of security threats will be there? The cyber security threats, irrespective of industry. Today you can hack a car and then you can manage it from Hyderabad, even the car at the US. Okay, and the machines, equipment, they're all now connected to internet because of IPv6 and internet. And financial transactions, everything happening today through mobile and other. So any industry you take, even healthcare, somebody can hack the pacemaker and play with the electrical signals. Healthcare industry is also in trouble. So with this background, I think there are so many security threats and security incidents which already happened. Then you have to bounce back. It's not only preventing, right? So I have excellent experts, the superstars in this security, especially the cyber security space today, to have a very interesting discussion and conversation on how these security challenges needs to be addressed. I mean, we have a topic today that is enhancing threat protection capabilities with managed security services. The whole idea here is, if you don't have the capabilities within, even for this security services and all, then how do you get it done from probably service providers through managed service providers? So that is the context of today's discussion. So I would like to invite our guest today, Srinivasan Mahalingam, CISO, Fusion BPO Services. Hi, Srinivasan.
Hello, everyone.
Naseem Halder, Chief Information Security Officer, Acko.
Hi guys.
Then Dr. Deepak Kalambkar, Vice President InfoSec, SafexPay.
Hi.
Ajay Cherian, Threat Management Leader, Asia Pacific, IBM Security.
Hello.
Rishikesh Kamat, Vice President, Managed Services, NTT Global Data Centers and Cloud Infrastructure, India. I think, I'm sure now with the profiles you have seen, I hope we will have a very interesting discussion. So let me start with Srinivasan. And then I also request the other esteemed panel members to give their thoughts on this. So as I mentioned, digitalization has increased the number of data sources and the complexity. So you have so many business transactions are happening. So what are the new security threats we observed in the last 3 years especially? Anything you observed compared to the past? So with the changing situations I already mentioned, what are those new security threats and why we are too much worried about it today?
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, VSR sir, for setting the context. So the interesting topic, as you mentioned, actually, because I'm in the industry of BPO services and call center. So we don't have any industry restriction on. You can say we are into healthcare, we are into telecom, and we are also handling the credit card related information. So we are managing multiple way of multiple customers as a part of our business. So during pandemic situation, last 2 years, we can say we have faced lots of challenges, and we were having a traditional model of handling all the calls and storing our call information. And so now we, as what we have learned from the pandemic situation, we have lots of breaches, outages, and you can say lots of attacks from outside. So specifically during the transition, we faced a lot of things. So only thing is, because we need to work on the hybrid model, business model, so we have to extend our network into outside the world. So we have transferred, we have done a digital transfer like entirely into cloud, and data has been stored in our on-premise. So hybrid model we have faced, and in the cloud environment itself, we have faced lots of challenges. In the, during traditional way of business, we have faced some amount of attack that is not that can be remediated or mitigate, that there is a solution on it. But when we done on the cloud base, so we couldn't able to identify what kind of attack happens during the configuration part, and during the transferring information and providing the access. And it's all, you can say, trusting somebody was huge challenge during the digital world and transmission of our cloud migration. So zero trust was not, so our focus area is zero trust model, but earlier we were facing a challenges in cloud model, in the cloud model of zero trust kind of issues, and also insider threat, because we have extended our our services in a hybrid model. We faced it from the insider threat because they couldn't know, they doesn't have such certain kind of experience during this pandemic situation, how they interact with the client. There is a glitches from the insider also, intentionally and intentionally, we can say. So either way, so I can say zero trust model was biggest challenge, and during migration, cloud was biggest challenges, and also for the insider threats.
Dr. Deepak, I think you are from the financial transactions and payments and all. I'm sure that is the most important subject of any human life and also business. So what do you observe in the last couple of years in the new security threats? I mean, the old ones are there, but any specific challenges you faced in the last 3-4 years?
See, as we are a payment gateway, we faced actually in these 2 years in pandemic, we faced a lot of challenges. For that, we actually had our total production servers on a traditional data center, and it was very difficult for us to manage the things due to pandemic. So we moved all our things to cloud. In 1 month's time, we took our downtime and we moved it to cloud. And cloud also, we faced many challenges because we had to comply with all the compliances for data security, for data localizations. We had to comply. So one thing I say is that going digital really helped us, but there were many issues and challenges to get all the audits compliant, because we store credit card data, debit card data is stored in our database. So we have to secure our database also. But anyhow, we managed all the things and we did all the compliances.
So did you find any new security threats?
No, in our things we didn't find. Yes, security threats, you can say, were there. Like the credit card for applicants' credit cards were used. Like we also had our one incident that during our bug bounty program, they were selling our data. But we found it out, and then we got to know that the data which was there on the dark web, it was not the correct card data because it was already masked. So we were safe actually with that. So that we are already running big bounty program.
Sure. I think Srinivasan, I think I was asking a question. It is surprising to know we are saying you have to move to the cloud, for example, but after migrating to cloud, some challenges we experienced, especially security perspective, in general, not specific to any company. So what sort of issues a company experiences? From your experience, can you share the security threats after moving to the cloud? Is it because of lack of monitoring? Is it because of data center non-readiness? What is the reason?
Basically migrating the traditional to some digital world. So it happened for everybody, but it's not majorly. So if you doesn't have a proper plan and migrating from traditional way to digital world in you can say on-premise to cloud, so we need to have a proper plan, and which we have already invested something on the traditional way, managing the access control and providing a extending the network to the outside the world. So it may be you have to plan in a way migration things will not disturb in the current business, and also we could be migrating in a proper way. The roadmap was not clear, because what happened during this pandemic situation, everything is certain, we have to go in a hurry
Right.
and we need to migrate everything. So
Mm.
we doesn't have time to migrate and set the contest immediately. So that is the biggest challenge, because end of the day,
Okay.
when we have somebody who is expert from the partner or whoever vendor, that certain help us to mitigate such kind of challenges, which I did focused on doing extending my services to my partner. They
Okay.
have helped me and migrated in a better way. But during migration, we need to make sure the proper roadmap needed, because we need to have a timeline. We cannot take this cup into this place to other place. It's going to be a huge migration. Data
Right,
is
right.
there.
You emphasized a very important point. I mean, I'm worried that you might say cloud is not good, but it's not the case. So you are saying that a proper strategy, planning, preparation, all those things to be there. Otherwise, you may face security issues. So we have to make sure, even it takes some time, plan for it, strategize, and then design a process to migrate and ensure that that robustness comes. Thank you so much, Srinivasan. No, Naseem, I want to hear anything you faced, something you never expected. And in the last 3-4 years, some new security things, what you want to tell others? Did you enjoy those security incidents or threats, what you predicted and mitigated?
Well, being a CISO, we don't want to have surprises. We always need visibility. So, that is our expectation. But, we can say, these hackers or these black hat people always heard our expectation and they are always surprising us. And in the same time, with the same note, I can say, this surprise is, the only booster of our job profile. If you don't get surprised, there is no need of CISOs.
Wow.
Considering
Okay.
this digital considering this digital space and all this conversion from a on-frame to cloud journey, yes, I do understand there is a lot of effort, lot of strategy, lot of planning required to do. But I can say I'm lucky enough being a fully digital insurance company who we born in cloud, and we don't need to do all these things. For me, this unprecedented time, this complete transition or change of infra, I think it's almost zero. Before we start this work from home, full work from home, for us being a cloud born company, I think we took hardly 15-20 minutes to just drop a one email to that all the people that are from these days we are going to have a full work from home. Yes, but there was one challenge we have faced, especially our call center agent. For them we have all the setup in a single place. We don't have a work from home facility for the call center agent, considering the insider threats. Whatever Srinivas has already try to attain all this, he has given certain level of details. The thing is that there are certain information you have to pass that call center agent to interact with your customer, because if you're not able to share their name, share certain level of information, is very difficult to identify, very difficult to attain their problem in a very particular way. So there are certain
Correct.
things, like let's say if they want to call some call center agent, how exactly you are going to say, some call center agent wants to call some of that customer, how exactly you're going to save their mobile phone, or you have to give them you have to give their name as well, right? Because if you pass these two information, it's you are basically passing a PII data. So you
Okay.
have to have certain level of control over there. For us, if we discuss about all these things, we have such kind of telephonic system where if that call button clicked by that call center agent, basically it will telephony system will generate a call from the telephony system to that customer. In the same time, the telephony system will also generate a call from the telephony system to that agent, and this call to be both the call will be marked. In that way, we are not publishing the phone number of that phone number of the customer to that agent, and they have that we are creating that bridge between the agent and that customer, so that the concern can be addressed in such a secure manner, so that that PI information is not there. So that is one kind of approach we have following. And in terms of threat, I think, inside the threat, that is, most critical. I think, having a pure cloud-born infra, we have implemented a lot of new X or I can say zero trust approach, profiling of devising, or a lot of people call this as a device compliance as well. So those things are already in place, but the most difficult thing is that inside the threat management, there are some people, they might don't have any, they might I can say they don't have a intention to damage the organization, but only for exploratory or curiosity purpose, they unintentionally they damage or they break certain level of things.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think that
yeah. So thanks, Naseem. That's a very good. I think most important point caught my attention is the internal things need not be intentional, but even unintentional, it is very dangerous. Thank you so much, Ajay and Rishikesh. You have been interacting with so many customers as an IBM and entity because your life is just to interact with customers and helping them. So, what is that you are hearing from them? In the last couple of years, hey, I think we are struggling, my dear friend, come and solve our, it's okay, chalta hai. So what do you think, Ajay, you want to share what you are hearing, what is the voice of customer in the security threats and incidents management perspective?
So I'm hearing the same thing for many, many years, many decades. But I think a couple of things are very prominent. And one of that Naseem touched upon is the user, right? For me, I've always believed one of the weakest link in security is the user. And with the crumbling of perimeter with pandemic and people working from home, that crumbling of perimeter, all the defenses was, many organizations build their defenses for people sitting in office and then, being able to, work from there. But now suddenly they are no more in office, right? So suddenly you're exposed, and that's where the zero trust and all those kind of concepts came in, right? So if you actually look at most of those threats which was there, the threat vectors were almost the same for a long period of time. But now you are protecting one area. Now you suddenly have to protect more areas and keep yourself away, and also user education, ransomware, all those supply chain attacks, a lot of things which was already there, but the vectors got more powerful and they started, affecting the organizations. So if you ask me, yes, we used to talk about perimeterless security for ages, right? But one fine day you had to execute it, right? And that was a big thing. And the user education and improving the weakest link was something that was a big challenge for a lot of organizations that we saw. And also the fast pace of cloud adoption, right? The cloud adoption was too fast, right? So people are not ready for imbibing security. First of all, people are not ready for imbibing cloud. Then you have to imbibe security into cloud, right? So it was an overnight experience for many of them to bring in that cloud visibility and then make sure you drive insights out of those things that happen in cloud and respond to it, right? So I think these are some of the things that we saw over the last few years that really transformed the way people do their security operations.
Sure. Thanks, Ajay. I think the battlefield probably span has increased, as you rightly said. The scope of, it is because the digitalization intensity and span is getting increased, then automatically the threats also, you have to look at with the bigger eyes, maybe bigger cameras, so to control them.
The kind of attacks that are going under the radar or that are going below the radar, right, below the radar of detection, those have increased a lot, right? And that's where many organizations probably have been breached, but they've not realized it, right? See, if you face a DDoS attack, which is a very large scale attack, it becomes very evident. If there is a data breach that happens, and like Dr. Deepak mentioned, some information you get from the dark web, then it's a known thing. But many of the times what we have seen with our clients is that things seem to be running fairly fine on the surface of it. But when you dig deeper down, you find those latent threats which are there, which may not materialize into something significant today. But if left unattended, then they can definitely become a big problem later on. And I think those are the ones that we are seeing increasing. Attackers are living off the land much more. You mentioned AI and ML. So instead of not just hacking into AI ML, that's probably more advanced. But what we are seeing is the bad actors themselves leveraging AI and ML to create certain threats, certain environments that remain undetected.
Wow, this is dangerous then. I mean, this is more, they are like sleeping cells and they explode when required and destroy everything. So if I understand right, Rishikesh, you are saying that not able to unveil that and identify them well in advance and take some preventive steps is the biggest challenge the organizations have to look into.
Yeah, and again, people try to concentrate on the headlines. So if a data is stolen, then that's a headline. But what if you have crypto miners on your data center environment? That's not stealing your data, but that's increasing your power utilization. So your costs are increasing and you don't even know about it, right? So these are the kind of things which attackers are using to monetize monetize the threats, monetize their activities, basically.
Right. Sure. So now I want to make this a little bit interesting. So Naseem, Srinivasan, Deepak, let us say represent the organizations, and Ajay probably Rishikesh, and of course myself also from, let us say we are the people who wants to provide and help solutions. Srinivasan, Dr. Deepak and Naseem, could you please tell two things? My God, this is something very complex. We are struggling here. We are not able to, I'm not underestimating because a lot of security threats are going, the battlefield is expanding, and the Trojans or sleeping cells are there. It's not like we know everything, right? We also need to look at what all the new challenges are emerging and all. Did you feel any time that we have to get some expert services from outside to enhance our security infrastructure and security services? So what all the situations made you think that I think I have to get something from experts, I have to get some good tools, good infrastructure?
During this pandemic, I have worked at two companies actually, my previous company and current one. So previous one, you can say biggest challenge. So existing traditional way of handling our data was biggest challenge, because what happened, one of the breach, the entire it was well known, the entire database has been sold into the dark web. What happened actually, the traditional way of handling the technology and putting in the process was not properly handled. That was the biggest challenge. See, whatever change you have made, that was not made into the other stakeholder. So middle level, everybody done all the changes, but top level and the bottom level, nobody aware what was happened in the changes. So that was not properly communicated with the organization. So internal communication gap was the biggest challenge. So another one, insider threat, when we received a phishing mail, it's look like genuine mail. Everybody aware of that. It's look like genuine mail. We have not given the awareness or education from the employees. They were not aware, and automatically the phishing mail triggered into the attack. So that is the way the compromise things happen. So, and third level, what happened? We have invested so much amount on the technologies, and we bought some of the SIEM tools and monitoring things and implemented everything. Suddenly, so the migrating from existing tool to the, it was not adapt. You can say in the SaaS product, you can easily adapt with the current digital world. But if you have a traditional way of some product, migrating from that traditional to the digital, it's very complicated. It needs more resource and more understanding, and latest technology needs to embed with the existing product. That was the biggest challenge. So we got expert. End of the day, what the solution is, expert from the industry. We need to grab some support, and we have adapted. But the existing technology which we have invested, huge number of amount, you cannot imagine such kind of amount we have invested for the existing product. But suddenly digital world migrating, it's the resource crunch.
Okay.
It's
Srinivasan, if I understand right, so you are trying to tell that there is some support required, because when you are migrating from existing environment to new environment, there might be capability gaps, there might be new technologies which we don't know much how to leverage, and it's like first time if we are doing, we don't have best practices to embrace. So in that case, so can I say that getting support from expert industry experts or whatever, I think it is very imperative. Do you accept on that?
focusing on the business perspective, this support is mandatory to get it from the industrial expert.
All right. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Naseem, any thoughts? Quickly. So maybe.
Yeah, first of all, I don't have that much big heart like Sri, having he's, openly able to discuss his problem. And in a webinar where might be, I really don't know how many people are listening to us, right? So I would say, I have no such of vulnerabilities or threat in my infra. But yes, what I would say or what I have feel that where exactly I'm facing some of the issue that, where I'm not getting good resource. If I want to implement something in a DevSecOps side, I want to implement something in API security, Nmap 6.8. Those things, still, what I feel in India, there are very few people we have in that, in that domain. We really have very few people who have a good understanding of DevOps in the same time of the, sec tools as well. So that is, I think, which one of the biggest challenge for me as well. Compare, along with the, complete industry, getting good resource. So that is the biggest challenge I can say.
Okay. Sure, yeah. I think the resource availability is a challenge. So
Yeah,
filling that
quality
gap
resource.
requires
Yeah,
quality, yes, quality resource.
Yes. You will get a
Yes.
lot of resource, very honest, but quality resource, it's something very difficult to find out.
But adapting with the
And
technology also one thing, right? Because a resource should upgrade themselves, which will not get immediately. That needs to be a mandatory one.
still living in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. So the resource, even you recruit, if they are not up to the latest technologies and policies or something, it's a problem. It's not just only having the capability of that past whatever you had. Yeah. So Deepak, so when did you ever feel that I think it is important for us to get support from some external consultants or external organizations? In which scenarios you got it or you want to get it? Support or help?
We already, when we were migrating to cloud, actually, we had to take some support in establishing the VPC and the network. So we had to take help from external parties. We had one vendor for only 1 month, not for that, only to establish the general security concept from the guidelines. So we had to take help from vendor. Now also for implementing SOC, we are taking help from another vendor. We are giving him 80% of the work will be done by the vendor only. 20% we have in-house staff. So we will
Monitoring
manage.
and,
Yeah.
correct.
So 80% will be given to the vendor. 20% monitoring part will be done from our team only.
Okay.
The main transaction part and all the things will be monitored.
Sure. I think if we if you want to derive a key message from our conversation, because of the change in the technologies and a lot of new things are coming in, and also organizations, if they don't have that internal resources, they have to depend on external consultants or service providers. And second important thing, Srinivasan also mentioned, if you are moving first time, which probably we have not done that in the past many times, certainly there will be many unknowns. And so it is always better to get the expertise help who already did it 5 times, 10 times, 100 times. They know the best practices, they know the risks, and they know the standards. They have to minimize. If you don't minimize the risk, there is no point having these external consultants. And they also need to bring the capabilities, what is required to make it happen. So I think that's good. So we have a business case. So that means I want to ask now, Ajay and Rishikesh, so what do you think if we, considering this situation, so we want to offer, everybody's talking about SaaS now, software as a service. I think few days back I was talking to one of my friends in infra. He said, hey, this is a micro. I was just telling him to make sure that he understands, he doesn't give me a Bahubali budget. Okay. So he said, even you say micro, if you don't use open source and you want to go commercial products and all, it will cost few crores. Okay, then I said, yeah, the chairman will get fainted. If you say few crores and all, what is that and all? So first thing, if we offer all these challenges to be faced, I have a headache. I have to get resources. I have to get this infrastructure, tools and all. Can I offer security as a service? It's like CRM, Salesforce has come up with CRM as a service or inventory as a service, whatever, everything is a service today, right? That means the capital expenditure is minimized. Operational expenditure can be done on a meter basis. So I will manage it, and everything probably my friend who is providing that as a service will take care. I only monitor and then see that whatever alerts come, I will handle it. So what do you think, what all the benefits will be there with this model, and what are all the risks the customers or enterprises have to take care or mitigate? Ajay?
So, good question. Security as a service is a no-brainer. It is going to be the game, and it's already the game if it is not considered the game. And you can see a lot of organizations adopting it, right? The biggest benefit that it brings to the table is agility, right? Agility is something that SaaS or a security as a service provides, a software as a service provides, managed services provide. So I think the biggest benefit is agility, right? And customers, focus on things that are absolutely required for their business while expecting certain things to be delivered to them without, having to break their head on it. So definitely that is going to be a long-term thing. And the other important factor is that, the transformation of technology is very rapid, right? With the advent of cloud, new APIs, new methods of collecting data, seeing data, and at that pace to keep these systems up and running on-prem, you need a very agile, staff that you need who can skills themselves up and be available all the time. So that's also mitigated by your going to the software as a service or a security as a service methodology, right? So there are definitely long-term benefits of going that path. Of course, the negative side is that in the short run, the cost will be higher. But then, having said that, it's always a trade-off, right? And what you want agility, you want quick time to value. You don't want to, burn yourself up in terms of trying to get all this done. So that's what it is.
Okay, Rishikesh. So SOC is becoming pretty prominent. Okay, I mean, last decade we have been talking about security operations center. Then whether you set up yourself or you outsource everything as a managed services to somebody, right? Some of the service providers will come and make sure that they drive it as an operation center. So how do you relate managed services and this security as a service? So do you see what is that? Can you give some sort of thoughts on that? How they work together? In the past, there was nothing like security as a service, right? But now I think this as a service has come. Then how these managed services or outsourcing services of the security operations and this security as a service go together?
See, the whole move is towards outcome-driven approach, right? Which means that now it's not important to show that, oh, I installed an SIM, oh, I installed an EDR, right? The whole focus is on detecting the threats and managing the mitigation around those threats. So it's all about managed threat detection and the response towards that. So what we call as MDRS, managed detection and response services, right? The ability to be able to plug into the customer's environment, offer security as a service, be able to detect those threats and be able to respond to those threats, right? And it's not about whether customers can invest a few thousands or a few crores. To the point that Ajay was making, the technology landscape is changing, and along with the technology landscape, the threat landscape is also constantly changing. And when that happens, the mitigations also change. So today, if you invest in a CapEx on-premise, you're pretty much stuck with it for 5 years, and it's a sunk investment. But when you go for security as a service, that's when you are able to take a call 18 months down the line, 24 months down the line, whether you really want to continue with it or you want to move to a different model, right? Whether you want to move to a different mitigating technology, to a different detection technology that is in place, right? To the point that Naseem and Srinivasan made around the resources, I think the whole problem is beyond resources also. I mean, one can still get quality resources if you want to, pay high for them, right? It's not easy, I agree.
So I think what he mentioned, a very important point, one is the technology landscape, the threat landscape, mitigation landscape, and then monitoring, controlling. So a lot of new things are coming in, and certainly security as a service will help in making them up and running faster. So that's very, very important point what Rishikesh mentioned. So the point here now, Deepak, Srinivasan and Naseem, from your experience, if you want to give an advice to your counterparts, like in the industry, hey, yes, managed services is good, security as a service is also good, but my dear friends, in addition to the benefits, these are all the 5 risks you have to manage, or 3 risks you have to look at when you are working under managed services and security as a service. So you want to share few of your experiences on what is that suggestions, 1 or 2 or 3 you want to give to your peers in the industry when you go for managed services or security as a service. These are all the 2-3 things you have to be careful.
Let's take a step back here. So today security is a service for a CISO, might be the infra head or IT head. But if you consider the business, security is not more, it's not an enabling function for any supporting function for them. Today security is a feature of your product. Whatever product you are selling, whatever business you are doing, if you don't have security on your product, nobody is going to come and accept your product. And there is one word is going on before some time ago that data is the new fuel, and everything will be data and all these things, right? So it's always important how business is monitoring this data. And the problem what I faced whenever we took I think we took this managed services, or I can say that's one suggestion I would like to make for this all managed service. Be more be more, go little more deep in terms of business, because what I face, this all managed services, they are pretty good, they are really good in terms of what need to be done, how need to be done. But the only problem I face, they don't sometimes they go only by the rules. They need to understand all these securities only for the business, why the business need to be exception required, how we can handle those scenarios. A lot of cases I have seen this thing. Even I'm part of this product industry, but before some time I'm also part of this consulting background only. So what I have seen, a lot of cases, we being a consultant, we push, we raise our hand that, hey, this is out of scope, we don't have anything. So that is something I would, the only suggestion I have for this managed service people, try to explore the business little more deep, so that security will be more relevant to the business.
I think that's very, very important point. It's not like sitting in our IT ivory tower and then thinking about security. The business has to be there, and you have to understand the whole landscape and find, like Rishikesh mentioned, what is that technology landscape you have to support business, threat landscape, mitigation landscape, and monitoring in that context. Very good. So any points, Deepak or Srinivasan? Otherwise, what I thought is whatever we talked till now is a theory. So I thought I also invited Narasimha, why not he show something, how it will help in the managed services, SOC, and also the SaaS perspective, security as a service. So I thought he could share some of, I think, the working use cases and how the sort of automation and security new as a service technologies and other things are useful. So before I hand it over to Narasimha, Srinivasan and Deepak, any suggestions to your peers? Be careful, my dear friends. Managed services, outsourcing, security as a service are very good jargons, but be careful. What are those 2-3?
Yes, sir. I can say only one thing, that managed services are good, but here we have, when we sign the contracts, you should see that the NDAs are properly signed. And the vendor which you select for the services has a good reputation.
My suggestion to my fellow leaders, so access to the leading technology and getting the expertise, you go for it and get the support from managed service. And if you want to really focus on the business, you give it to the managed services. They will take care of, as Deepak sir mentioned, with the proper documentation, get the support and improve your business and focus on your core business.
Thank you. That's a great point. Narasimha, could you please share within 5 to 6 minutes very quickly what are the dashboards will help to manage these security threats effectively? And if any 1 or 2 use cases, can you please share?
Basically, the panelists talked about the various attacks and various attack vectors, different threats posing to the industry. Of course, it was a mix of different industries altogether, BFSI, automobile, and many other manufacturing kind of industries. So nevertheless, whether it is a on-prem solution or a cloud-based solution, the SOC tool should be able to give you a next-gen capability. So when we're talking about the next-gen capability, the visibility is the first pillar, we usually speak about. Second thing is the ability to detect the threats, and the third thing is the prioritizing. I may get some 30, 40 security incident, but then what has been, what has the highest criticality to my environment, I should be able to see that. The third thing is the automatic investigations without spending much time manually. I should be able to do it automatically. And the last one is the response. So on the security tool, which is the IBM Security QRadar, basically, we are able to see different offenses here. This is the dashboard of the QRadar, where offenses are nothing but the security incidents or the different alerts, what it gets created. So the first dashboard, I would able to see is the offenses by magnitude. What is the criticality based on the criticality of the offenses, and then by assigning. I mean, I just have one user. That's the reason I can showing one, and depending on the category of the offenses, it should be able to show visually identifiable offenses and a list of security incident, what's happening, and many other filters as well. And of course, on the categories of the top offenses, which I'm really bothered about, and prioritized threats which are in my own environment, whether it is on-prem or the cloud or the hybrid cloud, multiple clouds and all. So I should be able to quickly visualize things in central location that these are all the top 10 threats which I have it in my network. And when I'm talking about the detection capability, it is very important for me to have certain use cases where it gives me the right visibility. Plus, it is very imperative for me to map the different use cases, maybe hundreds of use cases I would have created, to map it to the right framework. On the QRadar, we map it to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, where I might have hundreds of use cases, and it simply maps it to the right stages and the techniques of the MITRE ATT&CK, which you are able to see here, on the each stage, how many rules I have created, so that I know that what am I doing, and what is the intent and the purpose of the different use cases which I'm trying to create. So there are other visualization which I can actually make it something like this one. See, I have a user. I have a use case, which are all the different tactics, the stages of the MITRE ATT&CK, it is trying to address. So just by a click of a button, I will know what am I trying to address in terms of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Plus, I will know I may have some 500 rules. I should know what all the log sources I am trying to address. How many rules, hundreds of rules are created for a particular log sources, but then I have none for the firewall, or I have none for the Windows servers. So this kind of assessment, a quick assessment, we will be able to do it on the tool itself. Then we can actually do a quick assessment of the number of rules I have, which is actually contributing to the security incidents. If you can see here, a percentage of offenses by the rule, I know that which is the most used rule and least used rules. I can get a list of rules here, so I can simply, I'll simply select one, the second one, or the maybe third one, and I can say investigate why the least usage is there, this particular rule, and I can actually tune it up according to the usage and many other parameters what I have. So with this graph, I'll be able to see rules and what all the different log types it is trying to address. If I have to review the offenses which are generated by that particular use cases, I will be able to do it how many offenses it is contributing to, whether it is I don't really have logs or the flows, or maybe these rules are not even getting used, maybe it is a stale rules. I can actually tune it up in such a way that it will give you more efficiency. Right from this screen only, I can simply edit the rules in terms of parameters and actions and etc. And if I have to look at one of the offenses here, the first one, I've created an offense, or the offense has been created by the tool, which is multiple login failures for the same user, repeatedly, and after some point of time, maybe 100th login or 200th login, the login is successful. So it shows the basic information. There's the advanced information, something like, who is that user involved in that particular offense, when did it start, what is the duration of that, and very importantly, on the offense also, you'll be able to see which techniques and tactics were used to compromise this particular username, or to breach this particular network. Okay, so and also there are other information how many internal IP addresses, external IP addresses. Right from here, I can actually make use of the threat intelligence from the X-Force to look up, understand whether it is from the dark web, deep web, or blacklisted IP addresses and different kind of threats. So I'll just move on to the last portion of my demo. When I was talking about the monitoring portion, yes, I've seen the offenses. Now I have prioritized it. Now it is time for me to investigate. So if I start investigating it manually, it requires a lot of time, maybe some 1 week time or 4 days time or 15 days, depending on the data what I have and skill what I have. Instead of that, if there is a mechanism to investigate it automatically, so that will give you more efficiency to the security analyst, and time to investigate, dwelling time, and investigation time also will come down. So we can actually make use of the automatic investigations from the Watson advisor here. So to to investigate. This has already been investigated. That's the reason it's showing reinvestigate here. So I've already investigated here. So these are all the different information. The automatic investigation agent got it from the external world to the local SIM tool. So these are all the information, this belongs to malware families. There are 15 different malware families which are tied to this particular offense. It was not just one malware. It is 15 different. There are 7 critical stuff which are involved in this particular offense. So if I have to see this is more tabular format. If I have to see something like a visualization, like a network graph or a triage kind of a stuff, I can simply click on this graph relationships, where it does the baselining, understanding of the offenses, and whatever the observables are there, in and around the offense, it will get mapped properly with the MITRE attack as well as the offense also, so that this is the user who has access to this particular machines. And you can see this machine is infected with some kind of a spyware, and of course it is connected to the AWS cloud instance also, or the cloud environment also, where you're able to see multiple file hashes, which is giving me the information about the affected files or the malware files. So this is the the next gen story of IBM QRadar. So if you have any questions further, you can contact me, Rishikesh, Ajay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that.
Fantastic. I think this is wonderful. I think it provides great insight. Of course, we can now offline how the offense intensity is calculated, and usually a company, typical MSME, what could be this is an affordable cost, and how many rules have to be configured. And investigation is an excellent feature where manual intervention can be minimized. It is showing in a graphical representation the total path of how that breach happened and all. Certainly, technology automation helps the customers to find proactively, and also anything to be responded faster. So excellent. Thank you so much. Naseem, probably how the offense intensity is calculated. Is it something based on the incident happened? And one is reactive, and other is proactive. So threat is it is still not happened, right? So incident is something happened. So how do you differentiate, and how do you give the intensity of that?
Okay, so we give a scoring for every offense in terms of magnitude is the one what we call it as. So magnitude of the offense defines what kind of a relevance it has to my environment, what kind of a credibility in terms of maybe I have a couple of servers which are getting attacked, so those servers may be critical. So while I'm adding those critical servers only, I will increase the score of those particular 10 servers, for example, to 10. So by default it will be 5. I can increase it to 8, 9, 10 based on the criticality. And what is the severity of that attack? So that attack severity will be, we will fetch it from the locally as well as from the X-Force threat intelligence. So it's a combination of a couple of factors, and all three put together, the relevance, severity, and the credibility, we derive the magnitude, which is the risk score, you can call it as. per offense.
Great.
So that's how we derive the magnitude.
Oh, so you have a set of parameters, and those things can be configured as per the organization's requirements, and accordingly the thing will be calculated. Excellent. So my next question is, the logs are there, you said. So is there any artificial intelligence or machine learning? Nowadays, everybody is talking about AI ops, right? So is it something artificial intelligence helps in suggesting some recommendations and repairing also when security breach happened?
So definitely, we definitely use the artificial intelligence and the machine learning where it is required, because it's a, the data swamp which we are trying to create, right? Loads of data is coming into the SOC tools nowadays. So manually, we will not be able to achieve anything here. So we have included or infused the artificial intelligence based investigations, machine learning based modeling, the user modeling, network modeling and all. So that will help in rightly modeling or the profiling the network as well as the users also. On top of that, for the investigation purpose, we use the artificial intelligence. When I'm talking about the Watson, it's an artificial intelligence based investigation agent. Yeah.
Sure, great.
Yes, sir, there is a question from Charanjit Bhatia. He's asking, do you have playbooks, and does it include SOAR capabilities, and do you cover UEBA?
Yeah, definitely. The UBA is part of the IBM Security QRadar by default. So it is more a micro application which is available to just download and start consuming on the QRadar. And we have a full-fledged user behavior analytics. Second thing is, of course, the playbooks are part of the orchestration solutions, which will help you in quickly understanding what all the 30 steps I need to do, the workflow creation dynamically, it creates based on the offenses, and it can do the automation portion also, the manual work of I would like to block some blacklisted IP addresses. Instead of doing it manually, I can simply trigger it from my orchestration layer to enforce those policies on the target devices. Yes, it is there.
Cool.
The answer is yes, it is there.
Perfect. Any other questions?
How easy to configure third-party threat intelligence on QRadar?
Okay, so we support more than 10 threat intelligence on the QRadar. So by default, you get the X-Force threat intelligence along with the QRadar. Apart from that, if you have a third-party commercial threat intelligences or the open source threat intelligence, you can simply configure as long as it supports the sticks and taxi, the channels. And there is no charges associated with it. So you just buy the TI and have it configured on the QRadar. So it is that simple.
And how many OEM supported?
There is no such restrictions on that. It depends, how many ever feeds you have from various vendors. We have seen customers using 5 to 6 based on how much ever they have bought in. So it depends, how many. There is no restricted number actually.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. I think Naseem, I think it's not just theory. I think there is automation tools are all available. It's a great demonstration. I think that's where we thought, instead of just having conversation, also show the benefit of security as a service and also the tools available. Thank you so much, friends. Ajay, Srinivasan, Rishikesh, Dr. Deepak, Naseem. Wonderful discussion. So to summarize, we discussed about the changing world and changing technology landscape, changing security threats landscape. Then accordingly, we need to make sure we prepare for that big battle. Then we talked about the internal constraints in terms of capabilities, in terms of resource quality, and the acquaintance with new technologies, and most importantly, past experience not there, then how do you know the best practices and lessons learned? So it is also probably very important to get the support from experts through managed services, and also look at security as a service to reduce the capital expenditure and prepare for the future. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful discussion. I enjoyed.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.